is like, no, I'm going to stand my ground. This is what I want, and I want this, and I want to do this. Can we agree maybe there's a bit of trauma on that
There
end?
is trauma there, but like, how do we draw? Because my advocacy here, like what I'm advocating is that how do we draw a line between culture and social norms? Because it seems like the social norm is winning over culture, and because of that, we are going to lose a whole culture simply because the social norms that are being implemented or are being sold, they are being, it's like they are taking it to a higher value than the values and the social and our culture that we were brought up.
Okay. So just to go back a little bit, if we can agree that there is some sort of trauma
Correct.
that's associated with how vocal they are, then we can address that trauma and we can have an open conversation with it, on that. Because like I said, I'm raising a Gen Z. As much as my child stands on what he wants, he's not so far from it that he won't sit down and have a conversation with me for us to discuss it.
Okay.
Right? Now, going back to culture versus society, I'll bring a little bit of my culture in it. When we're doing baby naming, right? We pour libation, right? And that libation is to what? Invoke ancestors to come into our child and do XYZ. As time progresses in society and we become more aware, it changes. Right? Are our forefathers, ancestors, grandparents happy about that? No, some of them still want to practice it. So, and then that's where the disconnect and the pull comes between we're losing culture. It's not every little thing that is in our culture that aligns with where I want to go or where I want my children to go, right? So again, it's up to me to parent my child to do certain things that is appropriate for them, hopefully, that they will listen and apply it.
But okay, and anyone can answer. I understand that, and I appreciate that we are scratching on trauma, and you brought in an example, which is great. But let's bring in a practical example, right? And the practical example is that I started it from the previous question, I believe, about dating. In our culture, or let's say most of the African or the Caribbean culture, when it comes to dating, you don't have the privilege. You don't. Like, it's a written law. You can bring your boyfriend or girlfriend to your father's house. Like, you must be. But we see this happening. And when it's happening, it seems like parents don't have for lack of better words, they don't have the power to like to work around that, because there is so many things surrounding it. So it seems like parents now have to compromise on that value, if I may say, or that cultural value, to accept the social norm. And because now we live in that, but why I want to do that, it seems like the social norms are winning. But if we sit on the drawing table, most of the social norms, they are not really, like, in the long run, they are not beneficial from where some of the parents are standing. And so they are struggling. So my question is, how do we draw a line, like that thin line?
You see, and the reason why I can't really touch on drawing a line is because I don't really think there is a line in a sense to be drawn. And the reason why I say that is, again, our generation, well, my generation, and I'm speaking for me, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, my generation, we didn't have social media.
Correct.
Right? So a lot of things that were being done in the dark. Right? So like you said, we couldn't bring XYZ home but we were doing it.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So whether you felt the disrespect was in your home or whatever, we were still doing it outside. And we were doing it behind our parents' backs. And we were getting in trouble for it and putting ourselves in situations. Right? Versus now where it's more out there and we can talk about it more. And it goes back to having that conversation with your child, parenting your child, having those little conversations that builds to the big one. When you open that door with your child and they understand where you lie as a parent, they respect you, you respect them, they're not going to bring Tom, Dick, and Harry, but they're also not going to be doing things behind your back either. Right? Of course, they're going to filter what they're saying to you. They're not going to say, yeah, I had sex today. You understand? But they would have that open dialogue to hopefully tell you that, Mom, I'm dating XYZ. And you have that conversation. Is it serious? How do you feel about this person? As a parent, if you can tell that this person is serious with your child is serious with this person, bring them home. Let me talk to them. Let's have that conversation. Is that necessarily going to be the person that they get married to? We don't know. Anything can happen. Are we now going to tell them, don't bring anybody home? Me personally, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
Because I want to have that open dialogue with my child where they're not going to hold now, this person came home and, they broke up with me, so now I feel embarrassed. I'm never going to tell my mom anything to put this embarrassment. No.
I think that has changed as well.
It has changed a lot. So that's why I'm saying, for me, it's hard to draw that line. I never want to draw that line. And I hope to establish a relationship with my children where they're not obviously using my house as a revolving door and they respect where I stand. But they still feel free
to bring the conversation
to me, and we can decide together, hey, if you're serious about this person, bring them home. And if it doesn't work out, don't worry about it. That doesn't mean the door is closed, but I'm here.
Okay.
Are you gonna talk? I mean, I was just gonna touch on the fact that like we are trying to bring culturally and what's it these days, social norms, right? Gone were the days where when you were dating someone and you were not sure whether you're going to get married to the person or not, you can't bring the person home. Because your folks are like, you can't keep bringing different people home. And once you bring somebody home, it means you're going to marry this person. Right? But now, the willingness for them to be able to know who you are with is more of a security thing, is more of not just culturally, but they want to know who you are with. And they do not mind you coming home with a person because they need to know. They will not want to know on social media or somewhere. Like Rachel said, before social media, they were doing things in their, generation, but they were not showing it off because I have to protect my family, son. I have to protect their name, blah, blah, blah. But now parenting has taught us that we are interested in knowing who our children are with, right? My mind just went somewhere, but they really want to know whether it goes well or you don't end up marrying the person. It's okay. If you're heartbroken, I want to be the first person to know. So it's more of, let me be that space. Let's have that safe space. Let's have that conversation when you even get heartbroken. I want to be the one to know. Don't go to your friend.
Right.
So it's changed over the years. So we cannot really draw a line. And of course, you cannot just bring anybody home. Like when I say anybody, like just anybody, because Pablo said, the values that we've instilled in you, you know what it is to hold that value. You know what is it for a man to respect you. So you're not going to bring someone who's going to disrespect you, disrespect the family, and not hold that value in high esteem. So that's also why we cannot really draw the line. But I would say that parents at the long run are interested in who their children are with. Yeah.
Like Rachel said it, Lydia also touched on it. We are in that age where we do want to foster a different relationship with our children, and it's based on that open door mentality where we want our children to be able to talk to us. Lydia mentioned it. Are they going to bring every Tom, Dick, and Harry home? No, but based on the values, when they feel like, okay, I've known Johnny I met I've known Johnny since grade 9. Now we're in grade 12.
Use Kojo.
No, please. So now, right?
Yeah.
Now we're in grade 12, and I feel like we really like each other. If my child is in that position, I would want to know. It's time for
Right.
you now to bring Johnny home, and I'm going to talk to you and Johnny to see, like, where's your mindset really, and do you actually also understand the implication of this new role that you want to step into as well, right? So that open door communication is extremely important, because there's also that saying, the child at times will do what they want to do. I rather know what you are doing so that I will be able to parent you and guide you. Because some kids, like I said, I'm one of those kids. I'm going to do what I'm going to do no matter what my mom or my dad said. But had they had that open door communication with me, I probably would have discussed a lot of things with them and allowed their influence to guide me. But because I wasn't there, I did what I wanted,
Right.
good or bad. So it's very important to let our children also know that we value and we respect them. I think as like, I'm African, so I'm going to say African parents. African parents have that thing where respect your elders, and that's it. A child can also teach you something. It's very important that we respect our children as well, because we cannot just be demanding respect from them. If they feel like you don't respect them, their thoughts, as much as we're instilling values in them as they are getting older, they are also developing their own values that they are going to use to guide themselves as they are coming of age. So we might not always see eye to eye on certain things, but that respect is extremely important, because you have to get to know your children too as they're growing up, because the relationship you have with them when they're 5 years old is not going to be the same relationship you have when they're in middle school. It's not the same relationship you have when they are in high school or when they go to college. I have a belief system where I feel like even in my friendship groups, this applies to all relationships. You have to get to know the people that you're developing a relationship with at different stages of their life, because we don't stay the same. Whether I'm a parent, whether it's my child, whether it's my friend, life is molding us. We are growing. So it's very important to allow that space where you're getting to know your child, where you're getting to know your friend. It's very important. At the end of the day, you want to feel heard, you want to feel respected, you want to feel accepted, and you want to feel loved. So that's very, very important key factors to consider when it comes to everything that we're discussing today, when it comes to the children.
Home run.
Young Pablo.
Home stretch.
My thoughts on that question was cultural. What was it?
Social norms.
Cultural norms and social norms, and drawing the line. Me personally, I believe, before we even get to that, which is what everybody said, you have to have a balance. As a parent, you have to have a balance of things, right? If it's with the respect, if it's with boundaries, just anything, there has to be a balance to where it makes sense to you and to your kids. But when it comes to drawing that line, me personally, and how I'm gonna raise my kids, 100%, there's a line.
Father of the year. How solid is the line?
I feel like
Permanent marker.
like
But when he's raising his kids will be a different time, and hopefully they will be able to establish again that line.
The line.
Right now, the line for us is
The line is
blurry.
fading.
but and that's what the
line is like, let him go. Let me establish your thesis.
what I feel like. The reason why you guys are more leaning onto the side where it's like, oh, I don't really know how to establish that line, or this. However way you feel about that line is based off of also how society is right now and how kids are,
Yes.
you don't want to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right? You don't push that thing, but you have to be realistic. You know what is completely wrong, and you know what is that balance.
Oh, of course,
You as a parent, you have to stay firm, right? And at the same time, you have to let your kids know this is the line, right? And how I'm gonna look at how parenting should be is you're gonna have many conversations with your kids. You can have that conversation with your kid where you tell them, okay, yes, I'm gonna have this line. Yes, I'm very much aware there's gonna be times where you're gonna cross that line, right? And there's gonna be times where you're gonna feel like, okay, I may not be able to come to mom and dad for this. But with what I've raised you, the values that I've talked to you about, it's gonna be implemented into your mind consciously, subconsciously. You will still know, even if I can't go there, me myself, how am I gonna go about this? It's just many conversations that you have to have with your child that it's gonna mold them into this person, right? So when it comes to drawing that line, let's just start off with the dating or whatnot. One, African culture, we say no dating this, no that, right? When we're talking about having that line, it's the same thing as if you're having a boundary. You know, yes, we can do this, but we can't do this. Okay, you see society, you see some cultures. Oh yeah, mom and dad said, yeah, I can bring my boyfriend over. Mom and dad said I can have my girlfriend upstairs, right? You have to understand these small things.
You hold your eyes.
You have to understand.
way.
You have to understand these little small things. They lead to more, right? Because okay, mom and
The
dad said,
debate is on.
even if you're saying even if you're saying
in the hall,
yeah.
bedroom.
So even if you're saying, okay, hypothetically speaking, you know what, Jerry can come over, right? He can stay in the living room, right?
Yeah.
The kids become comfortable, right? You also, as a parent, you also have to think, okay, kids are gonna kids.
She said Jerry's not coming anywhere.
Kids are gonna start thinking now. Well, my parents are comfortable with you coming over. Yo, my parents aren't gonna be here at this time. You know, you can come over now here, right? This is how kids think, because kids are always gonna want to push, right?
Yes.
Next thing,
Especially if you draw the line
yes,
too.
if you draw the line,
I think
No, especially
I think what you're
generation.
saying-
You guys don't respect lines.
exactly. So and that's like I'm
So
trying.
that line
so
that
then-
you're saying that you
so
want to draw, maybe for you when you're raising your children, but us raising you, trying to draw that line
It's not
is
working.
not working.
but that's not.
But then
you know,
how
And
do
then
you
on
go
top of
about it,
too,
though?
with him making the comment about us taking little steps, and they're like, "Well, mommy and daddy, whether
They can do it outside."
You get it.
But
I was gonna get into
whether
that.
I invited him or not,
Mhm.
she can still call Johnny to tell Johnny to come home because I'm not
Mhm.
there. You get, but the difference now
Yes.
is I know about Johnny. And I can have that conversation with her about Johnny
Mhm.
versus if I didn't know who Johnny was and he was
Yes.
entering into my
My
home.
home.
Yeah.
Do I pray and hope that my child will not do that behind my back because I have trusted her and him with such a what's it called? With such a heavy responsibility. You understand? Do I hope and pray that my child will not break that trust? Of course, we all do. Will it happen? I don't know. Do I hope it doesn't happen? Yes. But what I will say is whether I draw the line, whether I don't draw the line, that's something that will still happen.
Now
I
let me.
think
Now
what-
let me.
But
let
hold on.
him land.
Let me.
Let
Land,
Pablo land.
but before you land, I think what I'm hearing from two sides of the house, I finally arrived at what I wanted. Two sides of the
Do I
house.
say that you don't need to draw a line? Of course.
So I
boundaries are
think-
there, but I think it's how thick.
How thick
That
the line
line
is.
is.
But I think what I'm hearing from both sides, it's the
Yes,
line.
the mic is
Whether
like,
whether the line is there or not, I think in your household there have to be
The foundation.
no go area.
Yeah.
Can I please add? I'm itching.
Go.
You guys.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
itchy.
You guys are making me itch.
Sorry.
Because right now,
You said it's
He's like shaking.
now,
Somebody
Yeah.
bring a bottle of water for Pablo. Go, land.
Probably.
number one thing that you stated there, you said even if we draw that line, you guys are still gonna be doing it. You need to understand what you just said right there. You're generalizing a whole Gen Z. Not every Gen Z is like that, which is why I said you need to understand
Premium
something.
Gen Z
I
and
mean,
Premium.
there's
And basic.
Pro Max.
there's you could say there's Gen Z and then there's Gen J.
Of
If you know what that J
Hey,
stands
Gen
for.
J.
What's that
Explain
J?
it.
Explain.
Hey, Jesus Christ himself.
Gen Z.
Myself is part of Gen J.
Correct.
No, but honestly,
the Gen Z.
I like that. though.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
Now, let,
I like
now
that.
let me tell you
Completely
something.
right.
You get to
Yeah.
talk about this line, this, or even if you
Yes.
draw it,
Right.
it's about a thick line. Think of it this up way.
Hmm.
If you don't put a line there, if you don't implement something, because you know,
Mhm.
as human beings, we're gonna make mistakes.
Mhm.
If you don't put nothing there, and your kids just think, okay, I can do whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine what your kids are gonna do, right? Which is why I said having those talks. If you're implementing values and all these type of things in your kids' brains, this is how you should go about it, right? Yes, they're gonna be thinking. Even if me, before I had my girlfriend, because I have a girlfriend,
Mhm.
my parents didn't know about my
Full
girlfriend.
disclosure,
Sorry, ladies.
your father will call you today.
Sorry, ladies. Before
He's taken, by the way. So
before I had my girlfriend, my parents,
Mhm.
obviously found now they're aware that yes, Pablo sang to somebody, right?
Mhm.
Before I had my girlfriend, right? I didn't have that talk with my parents.
Mhm.
We didn't have to talk about, oh, this house gonna be for girlfriend, boyfriend, and I'm not gonna judge and be like, that's just how everybody's gonna be.
Mhm.
But it was just more so knowing that, okay, I know how I was raised. I know these are the values, these are the things that I was
Mhm.
taught,
For sure.
right? Even if I don't have this conversation with you,
Mhm.
right? I know the things my parents told me. And the
Mhm.
next thing is, as a parent, you're gonna be thinking, okay, yes, I'm praying, yes, I'm doing this, yes, I'm doing this, and I hope. But at the same time, like I said earlier on, if you're Christian, right?
Mhm.
You also have to have the belief that God is parenting your child,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That God, you should have that faith in God that when your child goes outside,
Of course.
they have that conscious telling them, you know
Mhm.
what? Even though, yes, I want to do this, I shouldn't be doing
Yeah.
this,
Of course.
right? And even if they do that,
Mhm.
they're gonna feel in themselves like, man,
Mhm.
I shouldn't have done
Actually,
that,
yeah,
right?
for
They
sure.
might not talk to you, but they at least know. That's why
Mhm.
from young you have to be building these things. If it's values, if it's
Mhm.
religion, you have to be implementing into them. Because yes, kids are gonna make mistakes, but at the same time, when you make mistakes, when it comes to consequences, you're gonna think, okay, how did that really affect me? And same thing, building safe spaces. If you do make that safe space for a child, it's going to be easy for them to come and talk to you. Okay, dad, mom, I did this at the same time. But when I'm saying you need to draw a line, you need to have a line there for boundaries so where kids
Of
can
course.
understand. And then
Yeah.
even forget about just dating, just in general,
Mhm.
right? For example, if somebody's a Muslim or you're just a Christian person, right? And you have friends, your culture, you shouldn't be drinking, you shouldn't be smoking. But society, how you look at it, people are gonna be like, yo, how are you having fun without drinking? How are you having fun without smoking? You need to be able to know to draw that line and be like, okay, yes, I can come outside with you and party and have fun with you guys. But I need to draw that line where it's like, hey, I can't
So
cross this.
I think where it's kind of getting blurred
Mhm.
is the difference in the two words. Draw a line and boundaries. I think I'm more comfortable with
On the boundaries, the word boundaries,
than
right?
draw a
line.
line.
Right.
A line
Because
looks more
I-
disciplinary.
if you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and I'm gonna
And the
say
boundary
maybe
looks more soft.
based on my experience
Mhm.
and my trauma, because we all deal with trauma.
Mhm.
When that line was drawn,
That was it.
that was it. You get
I think it's the wording then.
You get
Because
what
at
I'm
the same
saying?
but at the same
That
time,
was it.
because-
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And that line that was drawn stopped me
Was
from
like-
doing a lot of things
Right.
that if that line wasn't there, I would have felt free to talk to my parents
Mm.
about. That wouldn't have led to so much things later on. So I think for me, that's why that line drawn is like a
No-go, yeah.
no-go.
Then
I prefer boundaries, which
Boundaries.
boundaries
Okay.
is a healthier thing to instill than the line.
would you
drawn.
say a healthier term, or are you just saying boundaries in general? Because how I look at it, when someone says a boundary and you're going outside, there's this with boundary, it's a certain thing you can't cross. The boundary is like, okay, if we're here, we're playing tag and whatnot. Man's gonna be like, okay, this is the boundary. You can't go past there. It's the same thing as a line. Someone's saying that. So that's what I'm saying.
I
Those are the
think
two.
boundary is more of like what you would accept based
And
off
what
of
you
your
wouldn't accept.
values and what you will not accept.
And what I will not accept.
I look at
So
it.
it's not a closed door per se, like how drawing a line is. It's like
In
what she
this
said.
context.
In this
Yes.
context.
It's
Oh,
like
okay.
she said, it's what you will accept and what you won't accept.
I think on that note, we have a question.
But the door's still open for you to talk
Right.
about that to a child. You know what I accept and what I don't accept.
Right.
But is the line drawn that you can't cross it to come? No.
I feel like that's why you have to make it clear, which I said at
Yeah.
the start, when you're talking about that line, you have to also let your kids know, yes, this is the line, but I know at times you might cross that line, and then we can have that conversation. That's what I was saying. It shouldn't be a thing where you're telling them, like, this is a line, no go, and there's
Okay.
nothing after that. That's what I was saying.
Mhm.
Yes, there's that line. You let them know, but then also let them know, I know you as a child, and me, myself, when I was a kid, I made
Mhm.
mistakes. And when you do cross this line, this is the ways we're going to go
So
about it.
me understanding where you're going with the line is clear for
Yeah.
me, because from my understanding, when we
Right.
draw that line,
No go
Yeah.
area.
no go area.
Oh, okay.
But you versus when you draw the line, it's like you can still, if you cross it, this, if you this, that. Which
I think the house.
Can explore.
I think the house is a little bit back to being unified, but it is what it is. But before we come to a close, we are coming to a close of today's session. I just want to take one question from the audience, and I think the question is also tying to what was just being discussed, and they are trying to understand how would you advise or how would you approach the different style of parenting, like soft parenting versus disciplinary parenting. How would you go about that? And I think the person asking, they're asking based on how the society is right now. So how would you guys go about that? Like, what do you have to say about their styles of parenting tied to lines and boundaries behind the doors, in the hallway, the common area, or upstairs. John is not coming. Jeffrey, is it Jeffrey?
Johnny.
Only Johnny.
Johnny.
I think I want to use Kabina or something. But anyways, continue.
Right, drama.
Oh.
So this is a very good question. Me personally, I'm not a fan of the gentle parenting. And this is from a personal observation because I work with children.
Right.
When I hear the term gentle parenting, it looks to me like the child is in control.
Right.
And for me, I believe in giving children the freedom to explore with guidance. And I feel like gentle parenting kind of diminishes the guidance, where it's like, okay, I'm going to let my child do what they want. I'm going to let my child be who they want to be. I'm not even going to give him a gender. I'm going to wait to see what he wants to be. No. As much as we want to give freedom to the child to explore and to come into who they are supposed to be, it also requires you guiding them. Right? You're not going to let your child go into the kitchen and touch the hot stove. You're going to intervene and tell them stop. Because you know what's going to happen should they touch the stove. So gentle parenting is not really my thing. I believe in guiding the child, giving them room to explore, allowing them to make mistakes, using positive discipline to guide them, having open dialogue. So that's my type of parenting style. I'm not against anybody that's into the gentle parenting or the authoritative parenting style. I'm not a fan of that either, because your child at the end of the day is an individual. Yes, you gave birth to them, but ultimately they also belong to God. You cannot just be so on top of them that they feel very restricted in every area. And I feel like I grew up in that kind of parenting home where it was very authoritative. You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. And because I'm also the eldest child, I got all of that. When the second one came, it softened. The third one came, it softened. The last born, non-existent. So it's a matter of, like Pablo mentioned it a lot, having that balance. As a parent, you have to give yourself the opportunity to also be flexible. Because in a household where there might be more than one child, your parenting style has to change according to the child and according to their personality as well. So it all comes down to your relationship with your child, your relationship with your children. Because the same way I'm going to talk to Pablo is not how I'm necessarily going to talk to you. It's not the same way I'm going to talk to Lydia or the same way I'm going to talk to Rachel. But ultimately, it's to guide the child. So my parenting style, again, is to guide my child in a loving manner while allowing them to also grow and explore and have a sense of freedom. Mm-hmm. And I put quotes because, again, I'm still guiding them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say gentle parenting versus tough parenting or disciplinary parenting. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've been saying the whole time, I feel like there should always be a balance, right? So based off of how I've been raised and how I see my dad and how I see my mom, my dad was more so like, this is life, you know? There's going to be a time where you need to figure stuff out. So with him, it was more so like, when you're out there, no one's going to be able to help you, you know? So there's times, obviously, yes, as a parent, like, he would come in and be like, yes, I need help, I'll help, right? But it was more so like, hey, he was more so like, how we looked at it was like, you have that respect for him, but it's like, it's like, this guy's no mess around, you don't play around with this guy, mm-hmm. You do one mistake, it gives you that look, right? But at the same time, like,
the look says a lot.
The look says a lot. And it was how my dad is. If anyone's met, it's like, it doesn't matter who you are, niece, even uncles, nephews. He gives you that look.
Everybody's in the category.
Everybody like this, attention. Not fear, just this guy's a no mess guy. You don't want to mess with. You need to make sure you're on your top game, right? But my mom, obviously, she was more like cherishing. My mom's also like, oh, it's okay. This more nice, but at times, yes, she had that toughness. But from all that, what I've learned is, as a parent, I don't think it should be like where you don't want your kids to label as like, oh, I can go to mom because mom's a nice one, or I can go to dad because I can't go to dad because dad's the mean one, or dad's always tough. I feel like both the parents need to have that balance in themselves, and that's a talk that before you guys have kids, you guys need to know how you guys are gonna deal with it when you have kids. Because me personally, it's gonna be one of those that's like, okay, if I'm saying this, you don't want to have your kids seeing you guys arguing in front of them, or the dad saying one thing and the mom goes, no, it's okay. No, even if you might not agree with it, the dad saying that in the moment, you guys can talk about it behind closed doors, and then he can address it later on. You don't want the kids to have that envision that, okay, dad's saying this, but mom feels this type of way.
Mm-hmm. There's always uniform.
Yes,
front.
There's always a time where you can do that gentle parenting. There's always a time and a place and a time where you can do that. Disciplinary parenting. If your kid is coming to you, they're crying their eyes out. Oh, mom, this is this. You don't want to be grilling them. Because at that point, it's like they already know they made a mistake. You're like, okay, It's okay. This is this. Then you find a time and a place and be like, okay, how can you go about it, right? And then the disciplinary parenting, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes you have to let your kids know, no, you can't be doing this. You gotta show them like, hey, yes, I'm your parent. Yes, we can still be friends. Yes, you can come to me at times, but I still need to show you that, you can't be making this mistakes. So I feel like you need to have that balance in between. Yeah. Not so you want to just be leading to the gentle parenting all the time. Dad said this, it's okay, you can go do it. Dad said this, it's okay, you can go do it. Because then now it's causing just problems in the household, right? It's going to be a clash. So that's why I would say you need to have a balance, not just on one parent, but both parents, right?
Right.
So that's how I feel about it.
It says, train up a child in the way he should go. Mm-hmm. And when he grows, he will not depart from it.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was growing up, I had my ass whooped. Like, if you did something and it wasn't right, you'd be whooped.
Report them to you and it.
But what I always remember is my mom would tell, like, as we grew, my mom was like, if she whipped you with one hand, she'll embrace you with the other hand. One. It doesn't mean that she hates you, right? But she's trying to let you know that this was why she whooped you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you should be afraid to make mistakes, but over the years, the whooping stopped and all of that, right?
Right.
But what is the point? I'm trying to say that we cannot say we are going to do gentle parenting, or we cannot say we are going to do only, the disciplinary one. And we also grew up with knowing that our fathers were very authoritative, but maybe that was not really how they were. But it was just a way of trying to align us and, keep us in check and all of that.
Right.
But it has really changed over the years. I feel like I'm not going to go for gentle parenting. No, I have to let my parents, I have to be firm on my kids. Let them know that, no, this is wrong. They may not be getting the whooping that I got, of course not, but they have to know that you don't do this. This is disrespectful. This is not respectful. All those things they have to know.
A little spunk goes a long way.
Yeah. It may not be spunk, but like
little bit.
A little, yeah. A little.
I'm just making comments.
But not the abusive, of course. No, there are extremes of spanking. No, you cannot spank them in. But let them feel loved. That's the whole point. Even if you whoop them, do you make them feel loved? Yes, my parents made me feel loved. But also, if they whooped me, they knew that they were doing it out of love, and it's not because they hated me or they were
Right.
trying to abuse me. No. So you need to, obviously, as a family, like Pablo said, find how your parenting style works for you. Let parents not be on different tangents. Let's agree as what is yes, what is no, what is accepted, what is not accepted.
Right.
Because once we are not on the same page, then the kids are like, why does mommy say this and daddy say this?
It shows.
I should be comfortable going to daddy asking for something as the same way I'll be comfortable going to mommy asking for the same thing and getting the same feedback. If I've not done my chores, why should I be able to watch TV when I've not done my chores? And mommy should not think, oh, it's fine, you can watch it and do your chores later.
Yeah.
No, we agree that you do your chores and watch the TV and watch TV. So that is how we know you do what you're supposed to do and then you enjoy later.
Right.
So you have to totally find a balance and let your children know that you are doing this out of love and for a better, you're training them up to be better, responsible
outcome.
people. Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
She closed the chapter. It's finished. Thank you.
Like, no.
I think we are done. I think
something, I was like, yeah,
she's close. I opened the page for you. I opened it.
I'm tired. Okay.
Yeah, we all have
So for me, again, I'm going to blur my lines. Okay. So for me, gentle parenting, disciplinary parenting, affirmative parenting, whatever parenting they want to categorize now in today's society, me, I don't follow. I do Rachel parenting. You understand? Right? And Rachel parenting could be a mix of everything, right? And I say that because my children are different. How I parent A is not the same way that I can parent B, right? Because with A, maybe A is more sensitive. I shouldn't label sensitive, but I'll use that term. And B is more aggressive. Now, I can't go to B and say, please, don't do this. Because my B is going to, what D? I named him D, right? D will be like, are you okay? And push that line versus I can't yell at A because A will be crying all the time. So I have come up with Rachel parenting, okay? And the reason why I came up with that is I did try that gentle parenting because, again, I'm stemming off of trauma response from how I was parented. I don't want to parent like how my parents parent them and they go this way or they hate me or they don't talk to me. I want to be a good parent. They're telling me I should gentle parent them like this. So let me try that. I tried that. For me, it didn't work. I'll say why. My kids are very smart. One will call me and be like, Mommy, can I get chips? And I'll be like, sure. And then I'll get a call from Dad. Why did you say they can have chips? And I'll be like, they called me. I said, sure. He said, I said they can't. I said, That's not, they called me and just asked. I didn't know they had already gone to you and asked. So now with Rachel and Evan's parenting, whenever they call to ask for something, I say, hold on. Mommy, what are you doing? I said, hold on, I'm calling Daddy. But Daddy said we can't, so then why are you calling me?
Right.
Why are you calling me?
Right.
So Rachel parenting is always trying to, as you said before, they're teaching me how to parent them.
Right.
You understand? So my parenting style is always evolving because of how they're teaching me.
Correct.
So because I know they move that way, I also have to advance and move them. So that's Rachel parenting. You understand? I cannot gentle parent them because as much as I say, don't touch this. Don't touch this. Don't touch this. What is going to happen?
They will touch it.
They're going to touch it. I said, don't touch it. Are we still in gentle parenting?
We have moved.
We have moved.
We have advanced.
Advanced. So please call me Rachel parenting.
And with that tone, of course, advanced parenting. Advancing parenting.
And then there's some kids that they must, what is it? In order for them to, they must feel it to learn. Like, don't touch the stove. But why? Because it's hot. You touched the stove. Will you touch it again?
No.
So that's my parenting, advanced parenting 101. Come for classes.
I I think you all touched on all the form of parenting, and also I see a balance. And I think one of the most important thing that you all touched is being able to have that self-awareness of who your children are.
Yeah.
So once you know who your children are, regardless of their age, because the thing with gentle parenting and disciplinary, it stems from the age range, because we are taught from most of the classes is that between this age and this age, you are not friends to your kids. And between this age, so I think it goes from 0 to 5 or 10, you are their parent. You are telling them no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. And between this age and that age, you are more of like their friends. Like when they are like in their teens and going up, you are their friends. And so I think that's where those terminology when then introduced. However, as we heard, you are raising different individuals, and their maturity is being attained at a different age. You could be 5, but like your maturity level is just above a 5-year-old. Are you still going to be doing the same form of parenting because they're still under the age? The answer is no, right? So this is just me also just adding to the question that was asked about parenting. So I think I like what Miss Rachel and Miss Lydia said. Rachel, parenting, it's an advancing parenting. Here, she touched on scriptures, like the Bible says, train the child. So I think you have to be able to know when, how, and where to implement certain things, as long as it's benefiting both the child and you and the family as a unit. Because at the end of the day, it's whatever you do to your child is going to come back and play in their life.
Yeah.
And so that's where the inner child now comes in and play, right? Because as Miss Lydia said, we were beaten. Our parents thought that was right. But if we look now, that was abuse, because some of us were beaten before we even committed the crime. It's like we anticipate you making the crime.
No.
So
Say it properly. If my friend Brenda has done something wrong, I got beaten for what Brenda did because she's my friend. They said, "Show me your friend, show you your character."
right.
So automatically, I'm getting
That was
beaten.
Right. So
Right?
and I think
And the way that I will beat is not the same way my parents
you
will
beat,
beat.
it's different, right?
They
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah, but at the same junction too, like I always like to bring the balance, right? Because like I said, we don't want to use the word beating your child because it may sound evil, but at the same time, I believe that correcting your children with a rod of the Lord is right.
I like that. Rod of the Lord.
You like it?
I like
Yeah.
it.
Right. Correcting your children with the rod of God, I think it should be acceptable.
Yeah.
Don't allow the devil to now influence the rod of the Lord.
And please, he's not saying rod, literally go get a rod.
It's not the literal rod. No. Right? But like, I think it's always right to utilize that whenever it's necessary. After you have exhausted certain measures, then you can bring
Like
that
the
rod.
shepherd stuff.
Yes, bring that rod, and then implement it. Because at the end of the day, I say this every time, every murderer, every thief came from a household.
Yeah.
So everything that we see out that we don't like came from a household. So there had to be something that happened, was not done, was overdone, or was, what is that, less than? What's that English? I'm looking underdone. That led to them, plus the influence of the society that led them there. But then, whether in the house or outside the house, it's all stemming from that parenting. Because
Sorry, what was the different things you said? Was something that wasn't done
wasn't done, was overdone, was underdone,
or lack of?
or lack of. Right. So because all these people, they were born and they came from somewhere.
Setting house.
So we need to find a way, as you heard from all of them, the balance, and having that open dialogue. They are human beings. They are their own individuals, and you don't want to constrain them, because tomorrow, after tomorrow, this will be the same leaders that we are looking at after 10, 20, 30 years. So what kind of leaders do you want to see based on how you are bringing them up? Because if you constrain them, it's like they won't be able to be free to do certain things, right? Because we see kids after growing up, they are 18, they can't really defend themselves because they were never given that platform. So it becomes encrypted in their personality or behaviors that I can. So they don't have that strength to do so. Why? Because it was never implemented at home. As Pablo said, install those values to say, if a person likes you, for example, they will value. These are the things that would look like value. These are the things that will not look like value. So install those things earlier and earlier, very, very early in their upbringing, and have an open conversation. I think, I don't know, growing up, my mom used to have this. I didn't like it, but like now looking back, like I'm just grateful. And I think I've said this 3 times, even in church. My mother we used to have the crucifixion picture in our living room. It doesn't matter whether you are playing or sick or sleeping, 6 p.m., you have to come and get a lesson in the house about God. So whether we're playing soccer outside, you were dusty, you were sweating, she would have us at 6 p.m. come and learn. Now I look back and I see the thing that she was installing. I remember things that my mother installed in me when I was away from her. I tell people I could hear her voice. I say this every time. Sure. I can hear my mom, David. I mean, she calls me something else. I mean, it's me and my mother. But David, I'm like, okay, right? Because it was installed in me over and over and over and over and over again. So even if what my mother told me, for example, it wasn't right, but because it was installed so much in me, it becomes part of my expression. Right. So let's be mindful on what we, as I think Ms. Ocho said, she does not open her home to just anybody. Because once a seed is planted, somebody's going to come and water it, and then grow and become something else. I think Pablo had something.
David said about what his mother was implementing into his brain. I could kind of relate with my dad. For people that know him, like he's straightforward, but they have a name for him, which is advocate, which is an advisor, someone that advocates everybody. Any chance he gets, advice. You know, and he'll say, me, I don't like to talk too much, even though he does. But he's like, when I get the chance to, he takes the opportunity to advise you. And something that always says to anybody, he always says, don't wait until you are, if I should have known. And that basically means you don't want to be that person where when it comes to that point, you're going to be saying, if I should have known, I should have listened. You know, I did this mistake, but if I should have known, I should have listened. You don't want to be labeled as that type of person. And then the more and more older I got, when I'm seeing my friends or the youth that I'm talking to, and I keep advising them, and then just out of the blue, the same line, I'm now telling them, oh, you don't want to be that person if I should have known, I should have listened. All these things that my dad was telling me, it's like you kind of sit back, you're like, I was there as a child saying like, oh, dad's just always yapping my ear. He's saying so much. But then that's when those moments hit you. And lucky enough, my father is still alive. So it's not like I'm going to be thinking, oh man, you know, I wish he was here. I could tell him these type of things. You know, I can tell him there can be times I can go to him and be like, yo, I had to talk to my friend and literally all the things you were telling me, I was repeating it to him, you know? So it makes you grateful, you know, that your parents were there and they were actually trying to help you. When you come to that realization, you're like, you know what? I'm actually very thankful.
Yeah.
Ms. Brenda, give us a takeaway as we come to a wrap of this session. Takeaway. The podium is yours.
So my takeaway today, I'm going to use Rachel's takeaway that we're always evolving as parents, because you do have to evolve. Once you stop growing, you're dead, right? So while we're alive, we're always going to be learning, and we're always going to be parenting our children. And for me, as I watch my daughters grow, there are moments where they are also parenting me. And it's very beautiful to see that I have, with the help of God, of course, because at the end of the day, the children all belong to the Lord and He will make a way for them. But I'm very excited to see that my daughters, based on everything that has been implemented in them, I'm excited and I'm happy to see that they are applying it in their lives. Like Pablo just said, the things that his father was always saying to him, he's now giving those advice to his friends. And there's moments where my daughter is telling me the advice that she's giving to her friends. And even though she's a Gen Z, or she's a
she is full-time Gen Z.
she's a Gen Z, but she's a
Gen J.
She is. I'll just get into that.
Gen
She's
J.
a Gen J. Like this verse that says, "The Lord will pour His Spirit on our sons and daughters." I feel very blessed because I feel like I'm living in that, and I see my children and so many other children around me that are living that life. They are that voice amongst their peers, and everything that we are implementing in them at home. Our sweat, our advice is not in vain. Our children are out there and they are the voice of their peers and the voice of their generation. And it's because we have also taken that stand that we're going to stand firm and rooted in God, because Rachel mentioned it earlier, God is parenting each and every one of us. And the other thing too that I've always tried to get my children to understand is, listen, I'm your mom, but I'm also a person. I am also learning and I am also growing. I am doing my best to bring you up and for them to also have empathy and sympathy towards me too as their mother, because our parents weren't perfect. They did the best that they knew how. So my takeaway today is to just continue to grow, continue to parent, and continue to love my children more and more and more.
My takeaway today would be that I know I always tell my mom that like she's done a great job in parenting us. I mean, she was not perfect, but she, like Brenda said, she really evolved and learned a lot. Every now and then she learns from just like, oh, I really learn a lot from you. And I always like thank her, give her roses, because I mean they did a really great job in parenting us, right? And I've said it a lot in our discussion here. But I mean, on my side, I would also want to say that, I mean, for the record, I don't have kids yet, but I'm looking forward to parenting them in a way that God expects me to with His help, right? And for them to also know that we do this out of love and we keep learning for ourselves and for them to be better people than we are. So I think those are just going to be my last words.
Thank you.
I didn't want to say thank you.
My takeaway is that I'm awesome. I'm an awesome mother. I'm an awesome friend. I'm just all around awesome and wonderful.
Right.
No one can take that away from me. I'm a great parent.
I
No,
like
seriously. No, but on a serious note, my takeaway, to be honest, I've actually learned. Pablo parented me today, right? He parented me
That's good.
on
We love that.
the drawing of the line. How I saw drawing of the line is not the same way Gen J sees drawing of the line.
Right.
So sometimes that drawing of the line needs to be established, but I learned it's not the definition I grew up with.
Right.
Right? And like I said before, it's evolving. So that definition has changed. And maybe we need to introduce drawing of the line, but I'll still hold on to my boundaries as well. Right?
We learn every day.
We learn every day. So that's my takeaway. I learned from every one of them. Everybody. I learned. Yeah. I learn from Brenda every day.
Right.
She parents me more than anybody.
Wow.
She's always Brenda. Teaching. Yes. Oh, don't sleep on Miss Brenda. Eh?
Wake up.
Do not sleep on Miss Brenda. Don't sleep. I know a lot of people look at her and they just assume she's an all-around party girl, and that's all. But she is not. Yeah. If you are able to look past what you see on the outside, you will be like blown. because not only does she advise you as a friend and a sister, but she ministers and prays with you as well. You know,
That's really
so
good.
Brenda, she knows. She's like, and Pablo, he teaches me too, even from when Isaiah was younger and you guys did King's Court today together, right? There was certain things I would look at Pablo and I'll be like, I think I called you before one time and I'd be like, oh, can you, Isaiah, take him? You know, David, you already know, so I don't even have to point yours out. You were just all around mentor. And Lydia, don't even get me started. Don't let me get you started on Lydia. As a friend, Lydia, like, I don't even, sometimes I even fall back and let her mother my children. When
That's
she
the
comes to my house,
safety net
yes,
right
because as a mother, I'm tired. It's exhausting. It can be tiring, and that's exactly when I mentioned that I'm very careful on who I introduce into my kid's life. You know, because when I'm tired and I bring in the wrong person to drop seeds into my children's life, it will go left, right? So I'm very grateful for Lydia because sometimes she'll come into my home and my kids are eating on the couch. She'll be like, hey, you guys, get up. You don't see mommy's tired? No, get the vacuum, you know? And I appreciate those moments, right? So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Well,
He finishes up. I'm just gonna say this is more so for the children out there that have parents. I was gonna say for everything we've talked about, just having the understanding. Yes, our parents, they're not perfect, you know, and we're not gonna be perfect parents, right? But at times we get lost in all the negative aspects of what our parents do, you know. And let's say more so for fathers out there, because with our mothers, at times we're gonna tell them, "Oh, thanks mom for this, thanks mom for this." But just for both parents, instead of always focusing on the negative aspect, saying, "Oh, dad did this, mom did this, mom did this," take some time back and think of where you are in your life right now. And just, you don't have to do it, you know, we're not obligated to do this, but at times just it makes them feel good. A parent as well to feel like, okay, it lets them feel like, okay, I'm doing something right. So just letting them know, thank you for this, thank you for this, because many of the sacrifices that they've done, you know, that's why we're in the position that we are right now. So us children, we have to take that perspective and just, you know, give thanks to our parents as well, because they sacrificed a lot. And yes, they made mistakes. It's their first time being parents. It's going to be your first time being parent. And every time you do something the first time, you're going to fail, you know, you're going to make mistakes. So you got to give thanks for where it is. That's all.
wow. Crambo family, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are streaming us from. Please thank my panelists for their extensive wisdom and information that they have brought to the table. I really hope someone was able to pick something to look into their own forms of parenting as an actual parent or just like a mentor. We are all learning. Nobody knows everything. Nobody's expert. And one thing I want to encourage parents and those that are mentors is that parenting does not have a manual. It doesn't. We are always editing and changing and updating every single second. Yes, we have some templates as far as religion is concerned, like the Bible, XYZ, but there is no an actual manual that you can say from this age, like you read, like we don't have. Parenting is not static, it's dynamic, right? And so you don't want to do it all by yourself. Yes, I'm speaking to single mothers, I'm speaking to single parents, I'm speaking to whoever that feels like they are parenting on their own. We need to be able to create that safety net. Like Miss Rachel said, Miss Lydia comes in and helps out. Miss Brenda comes in and help out. She has mentioned everybody who's played a role in the way to parent. It does not make her less of a parent. Otherwise, it even helps her to see ways that she could have even implement, because down the road maybe Miss Lydia is gonna get busy, but like because she saw Miss Lydia do something, she can implement it in her own parenting style. All right, and then for the children, we like me, all right, we need to be able we need to be able to, as Pablo said, be very appreciative and just pause, as my pastor would say. Yeah, 3 weeks, I think we had a lesson. pause. Most of the times we just just pause.
And I think it's not just like Abu said, like I don't think it's just parents in general, but just
In general, exactly.
People in general that play
A role, right.
in your life, whether it's in leadership, or your
Whatever,
pastor, your
right.
teacher, your driving instructor.
Mhm.
I think it's just acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, it goes a long
that,
way.
hey,
Right.
thank you. And also accountability.
Accountability.
As much as we say thank you, you also need to be accountable
Mhm.
for certain things that you do to play
Exactly.
in certain areas.
Exactly.
Yeah, and to add to, sorry to interrupt. To add to that, what I was gonna say, the acknowledgement, which I hate to say, I'm not against my generation of peers. Like, it's just, this is what I see, but like what it is, you don't lose anything by praising people for what they do, and kids of our generation, we have this mentality where it's like, oh, you're my parent, you have to do this, you brought me to this world, you have to do this, that was your job. If you're outside and somebody's making you a burger, you're gonna say thank you,
Of course.
it's still their job, but you're saying things. So why is it when it comes to your parents, it's but they had to do that?
That's good.
They brought me here, they had to do that. I didn't ask to be here, So why is it when it comes to your parents like that? No, you should be giving thanks. Just like you're gonna give thanks to anybody else, give thanks to your parents. Like, thank you for this. You don't have that, which I call nasty mentality. Where you think like, oh yeah, I deserve this. They had to have done this. Because they're my parent and this. No, you shouldn't have that type of mindset.
Right.
So I just want to say thank you to my pastors and my parents and everybody who played an influential role.
Full disclosure.
I want to thank you for heavens. I already thank everybody here. I just want to thank everybody. Thank you.
I like that. I like that. I like that. And I really think we need to do that more often because people get what's the word? Carried away, right? But we really have to be able to just don't wait for Mother's Day or Father's Day to do that, right? Don't. Like my brother will always say, if you don't bring flowers to me now, don't bring them to my grave. It's pointless, right? So give me my praises now, today. Let me know that I did something, even if it's 1%. Let me know that as I'm living my life as a parent, as a mentor, as a pastor, whatever. So since Miss Rachel started, dear dad and dear mom,
and your siblings,
mtoto wako. I'm bringing it deep in the language so only you can understand. Mtoto wako mfalme, mtoto ambaye ulimzaa, mtoto wa mwisho. Nashukuru sana kwa kila kitu ambacho ulifanya. To my pastor, thank you so much for the work that you do. For me, the lessons. To my mentors, my brother whom I follow immediately, that one, he's played a pivotal role, and my brother who is the firstborn of this family, I salute you. Thank you to my sister-in-laws and everybody. Miss Rachel, outside work, she's my sister whom she was stolen from Tanzania, and then she was born in Ghana. I don't know how it happened, but like, she's my sister. Full disclosure, she's my sister, and I've known Miss Rachel for quite a while, and she's been a sister. It's a privilege to know that I am in the home. Yeah, she's opened the door in the home. I'm not in the house, I'm in the home, I can go anytime. And then Miss Lydia, I've known her not too long, but like, she's a great soul, she's always helpful. She doesn't wait for direction. Like today, she's been a very helpful hand. Miss Brenda, my headache, but I love her with all my heart. I've been privileged to be a voice to one of her kids. It's an honor me to have that. All right. As Miss Rachel said, as much as people see the facade, inside and behind that, there is an actual strong pillar in there, which I do recommend. Disregard of, but it's all good. This right here, this is my nephew. To those of you guys that didn't know, this is my nephew. This is my nephew. I'm very grateful for him because, it's great when you see the little seed or work that you dropped. He's taken that and he's blown into a full tree, into his own individual person. I tell you, I can go to bed at peace. I don't care what you say. I can go to bed in peace because I know where he stands. I know the values that we have installed, not only me, but like his parents, who are my brother and my sister-in-law. And it goes a long way. So as we said, just drop those seeds, drop them. They are going to pay off. So once again, thank you so much for being here. This is just the beginning. We have other programs coming up still on the child and its future. I think the next one we have to talk about personal, the inner child, individualized. So that way we can have a clear picture on how we can combine and work it out. Again, this is Crumble, break to build. Broken is not branded. Here we break the mold and we build the bold. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. God bless you. Bye now.
Bye.